All right, guys, next point we're going to discuss here is manners, all right? That's one of my favorite topics to discuss. Anytime I'm doing a consultation with someone, I always go over manners and establishing boundaries within your house, okay? One of the ways that I implemented manners with Duke was around feeding times, okay? Especially when you have that young pup like that, they're going to be overexcited about feeding, and it's something that they're always going to look forward to. And it gives you a good opportunity to really establish some baseline training there, okay? So something I've always done with Duke was when it's feeding time, I'll put him in a sit once, I taught him sit, and it's pretty natural for him, right? To learn the sit command. But I would, place him in a sit, and I would prepare his food, and then I would just have him sit there. And if he, got up during that time, I would just, reset him, put him back, apply marking, yes, good sit, while he was young, even when he was young, is always being consistent. And then I would, release him to go eat, with a break command or whatever it was at the time. That is something that you want to do consistently, from day one, right? So they understand, just because mom or dad's preparing my food, I'm hungry, I'm excited, they're not all in the bowl too early. They're not in their food bag or bin, before you are. It is a very controlled environment, and they have to sit here in a good stance or whatever you command you give them, a down or a sit, until you give the command. Nothing happens with your new pup unless you say so, right? That's the ground rules you must establish with them, and it's going to be vital for introducing obedience training. So just keep that in mind when you talk about manners, especially centered around food. All right, establishing boundaries within your house, right? If you don't want the dog in the kitchen, the dog does not go in the kitchen, okay? Something I did when I allowed Duke to walk around within the house is, one, I got a longer leash, right? And I would keep him on a leash even when he had a little free, some free roam time in the house, just so I could keep him close and I can control everything, right? He's new, he doesn't know anything about the house, he's doesn't know all the ground rules yet, so I'm in control of that, okay? Every time we move from one living space, one room to another, I put him in a sit, and then I proceed to go first, and then I will give him a release command to follow, all right? The more you do that with your pup, they'll start to understand, okay, mom or dad's in charge. I need to be looking to them for direction, and all commands come from the tower, and they'll start to follow, right? Naturally now, even before, making this video, coming downstairs with Duke, I'm walking downstairs and I'm like, all right, he knows what time it is because I'm grabbing the cameras and stuff, but he still stops at the top of the stairs and waits for me to go down first. I don't even have to say it. When I go take him out, same thing, right? If even, during this time when I was taking him outside, we would go through this stuff. But transitional spaces within your house, you control that. They don't get to just get up and, do their own thing on their own time, okay? So be mindful, control that. Make sure you really focus on manners. Like I said, use those feeding times to implement some of that good basic obedience training. Your sit, your stay, and your down, right? Even if they get it that early, okay? So just to recap here, focus on manners and establishing, boundaries within the house, okay? I gave the example about the kitchen also. If you don't, or any area you don't want them in, you don't allow access to. If they're in there, right, you make sure you mark with a stern no, right? And if you have to, back them up out to their space, this is your space, you take a commanding step into their space and, you tell them no, all right? And then you can positively reinforce, when they're in an appropriate area or they're doing something right, okay? So just keep that in mind, guys. Let's move on to the next point.